one felt pretty good. I'm drinking a full body pop today because I've earned it. Cherry Coca-Cola. We're playing a Cavia game today. You know anything about obscure, forgotten, criminally underrated Xbox 360 games? Then look no further than Cavia. And not just the Xbox 360. I'm also talking about the Ghost in the Shell game that released for the PlayStation 2. A game that I have never played. I feel like Nier is the perfect game to finish on this little Xbox 360 nostalgia trip, because it is a game in many senses about nostalgia. I'm not entirely sure how yet in the full scope of things, because I haven't finished Nier. I'm only few hours into the game. It's about, well, there's two different versions of Nier. There is Nier, what Tim Rogers would call Nier Gross Old Man Edition, which is the version we're playing today, which stars a father, a gruff father type who isn't really much of a hero. He's more of a, the game centers around him and his sickly daughter, and he makes mistakes. He does stupid things in order to try to save his daughter from her illness, is the gist of it. There's also Nier Replicant, which got a remake a few years ago, which I do plan on playing eventually. I have the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 version of it. This game also released, though, on the Xbox 360, all like back in the 2000s. And that game didn't star a father. The daughter was the same, the kind of helpless, sickly, but very worldly and an intelligent daughter. And it was an older brother who was the main character, who you were playing as. So, yeah, I've played Nier Automata to completion. I played it when it came out in 2017, and I have pretty fond memories of that game, but something tells me that this game is going to shake me even deeper, because when I played Nier Automata in 2017, I was a completely different person. I was not the person I am today, that's for sure. This game takes place in you could say, post-apocalyptic society, or I guess more accurately, even though it's pretentious to use post now, but it's a post-apocalyptic society where, so I'll just spoil Nier Automata for you. And I think this game kind of does the same thing. I'm not entirely sure, but I just from the vibes I get the feeling that a similar thing is happening here. And I feel like this is probably why this game is maybe almost like we didn't need Nier Automata in some sense, because I don't know, that could be a very offensive statement to some people. And I don't even know if I'm speculating here. This is, you got to remember, what I say, I'm not trying to speak in some kind of grand objective truth based on logic or whatever. This is all speculative. This is all theory. This is all, and I'm trying to build a historical kind of genealogy here. And if it makes sense to me, I don't have a problem explaining my interpretation of things, but there are infinite interpretations of events and history and stories. So, and different experiences. So always remember that. Always remember to question authority. Always remember to question anybody who says they have like an absolute interpretation of things. And I fall into this habit all the time. I am ashamed to admit is I do fall back on absolutes. And I don't realize when I do it, and when I get called out on it, it's like, okay, yeah, I am doing that, and I am going to stop doing that.
Where's it from? How does it work?
What? It's just a song. I don't know what it means.
So this game,
Idiot sings a song without knowing what it means.
what was my original point? My original point was
Go to the library and ask Popola. She's smarter than me.
that Nier is a game where it's like all hope has kind of been lost. And the big reveal, once you've played enough of Nier Automata, like the gimmick is you play the game once as one character for like 15 hours. You think you beat it, and then you play pretty much the same game again for like 12 to 14 hours as another character who's going through most of the same events that the other person was. And then there's like 2 other playthroughs you do after that. It's recommended to play through all of it if you want like the full definitive like Nier Automata experience. But Yoko Taro, who create like the developer of this game, the main developer, the main name behind this game, he has this big reveal where, and this is Nier Automata, not Nier. The big reveal near the end of that game is that humanity has been wiped out, and it has been wiped out generations ago, centuries ago. And you have these 2 kind of like, you have these machines, these artificial intelligences who are basically just fighting these never-ending wars for no reason. I think they're doing it for like humanity, to save humanity or whatever, when they don't even realize that humanity has been long extinct. So the first like hour and a half of this game is your daughter goes to this shrine to like, I think, figure out there's some kind of like MacGuffin that I believe that it's like this it's like this antidote to whatever she has, I think. And she goes off alone, doesn't tell anybody, doesn't tell her father. So her father goes and rescues her. And then you go back to your house, and then you encounter this like the Grimoire Weiss, which is this like, I guess, this ancient tome of wisdom that just kind of follows you around for the rest of the game. I see this as a very like, this is obviously an allusion to artificial intelligence. And this game was made in 2010. And the reason I think this is so, like, the Grimoire is this, like, kind of, it has wide swaths of knowledge that the main character, who I've named here Plank, I'm not entirely sure why, but the Grimoire, you can just pretty much ask it anything you want, and it'll give you like an expert analysis very quickly. What the fuck does that sound like? If you answer Chat GPT, ding, 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 ding. And you know what? I'm not one of these people who's like 100% anti-artificial intelligence, despite what it's doing to accelerate climate catastrophe, especially with all these data centers being created, which is making every poor person's electricity bill raise significantly. It's not just that; it's also like, you know, how Spotify is like in bed with like all of these big tech military companies now, yada yada yada. But I will tell you that I'm going to be very open here that I do use ChatGPT sometimes. And I know most of us do, and some of us are ashamed to admit it because we're afraid of being judged, or we're afraid of being stupid, or we're afraid of being called a bot. I'm going to keep this very vague, but I have been experiencing a lot of, just say a lot of like personal friction right now regarding some of the relationships in my life, because whether I wanted to or not, I have inherited borrowed burdens that I didn't ask to hold on to, or a lot of my emotional bandwidth is being occupied right now by things I don't want my brain to be occupied by, but I feel like I have no choice to, because ultimately, to me right now, the most important thing in my life is the safety and security and stability, the 3 S's of my daughter. And so from time to time, I will ask the Grimoire, I will ask ChatGPT, what's the best route to take if I have to have an uncomfortable conversation with someone, for instance. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I feel as if ChatGPT has helped me in ways that like if I were just to like have these conversations completely like I'm based on my own intellect and what I've learned and how I am, because I am somebody who can be an emotional sponge, whether I choose to be or not. That was my conditioning. I was raised in an environment growing up where I was expected unconsciously by people who weren't adults in certain ways to manage people who are much older than me. And this has continued into my late 30s, because I do have a high tolerance for like emotional chaos, or whatever you want to call it. So in that regard, like I do feel as if whenever I have to ask the Grimoire for a suggestion, it usually gives me a suggestion that is far more stable than whatever like reactionary emotional diarrhea was going to come out of my mouth had I not stopped myself, taken a breath, and said, okay, what can a machine tell me about this situation? And I think why this is so scary for people is because like artificial intelligence at this point knows humans better than we know ourselves. And I think that is scary for a lot of people, because people don't want to be called out by an AI. And maybe maybe there is something to that. Maybe we have become so robotic and so habitual that we have become like kind of predictable. And that's why it's pretty easy for an AI just to like spit out a pretty intuitive take on a situation regarding two humans and it making perfect total logical sense. I'm not saying it's always right. Obviously not. But I am saying it has helped stabilize me and my relationships more often than it hasn't. I'm feeling a lot of anxieties right now. I'm holding a lot, whether I chose to hold on to a lot or not. I have anxieties about fatherhood, protecting my daughter, enduring family systems, old ancient family systems, unconscious trauma. I'm fearing returning to the workforce, whether that be having maybe a video editing job where I can work from home, which would be ideal, or having to go out back into that, nasty, unpredictable, cruel, oftentimes shitty world that is just like profit accumulation is the highest moral good, that type of reality. I also have anxiety for my nostalgia and what it means, and if it is a cope, if it is a like if it is genuine, having the time to think and dream and imagine something more tolerable than what we're currently dealing with, and feeling crushed by other people's expectations, which is how a lot of people in this world in Nier feel to me. Saying late stage capitalism feels like too much of an abstraction at this point, because like, what does that even mean? It's very possible that like capitalism can continue for like another 1,000 years. So to call it late stage seems kind of, I don't know, naive. I think like what we're going through right now is like a collapse stage monopoly capitalism, which is like what happens when you have a very small number of companies, corporations who just have a monopoly on everything. They have a monopoly on food, logistics, entertainment, cloud infrastructure, pharmaceuticals, banking, housing. And this is why we've lost the ability to like think of a future, to manifest, to produce a future, because there's really no competition. There's like no like real innovation. There's no upward mobility. There's no like collective hope. Maybe there's like a couple people here and there that have hope, but individuality in that regard is not usually the most like, it's not enough. So it's not like you are failing. People are failing. It's, even though that's the trick, we're supposed to feel like we're failing because we're racked with all this guilt, because this economic system has conditioned us to feel very guilty, even though it claims it's not a religion. But I would argue that like science, STEM, engineer, like profit accumulation is a religion. It is the prevailing religion right now. Over Islam, over Christian nationalism, over Judaism, over it all. So like, we're aware that like this system doesn't work. I mean, you see it with everything. I heard the other day in Canada, apparently there is such a problem with like immigration. It's like so many Indians live in Canada now, and there is a lot of like, people are depressed because they no longer find meaning in like work. And when you no longer find meaning in like your work, because that's like the most important thing for most people, especially like that individuality. So what do? Well, Canada and their health system has decided that you can unalive yourself and they will assist you in that. So we're at the point now where instead of like healing people or trying to get people out of these very harmful thought patterns where they're very cruel to themselves and they feel they're racked with this tremendous amount of guilt and shame because they can't afford a house and they hate their job, so they quit their job and then they have even less meaning. Oh, just go ahead and end your life. We'll do that for you because we have too many people here anyways. It's disgusting. I fucking hate moralizing, but like it's so fucking pathetic that we live under this gerontocracy of these old fucking people who like don't even realize anymore how evil they are because they're all brain dead. Because they're all brain dead about the same thing, profit accumulation. That's all they care about. That's all they care about. And it's like, finally, I give millennials shit sometimes, and yeah, we do use nostalgia as a cope, because it's like, what other cope do we have at this point? And I think it has given some of us enough courage to like finally stand up to these old value systems. I don't mean just like in an abstract way by like going on YouTube and being like, oh, capitalism sucks, profit accumulation sucks. No, I mean like actually challenging people who uphold these norms. And I'm not just I'm not saying, oh, like I talk directly to a politician. I'm talking about family members. Maybe somebody in the family who is 70 years old and thinks they still should have more power than maybe they should. And when they get checked on it, they get very insecure. And I'm proud to say that it feels like I know millennials get a ton of shit from Gen Z and from boomers alike, but I do feel like there are enough millennials out there that are finally fed the fuck up. And the ones who are adults and take responsibility and healed themselves enough are finally saying something. That was a bit of a rant to get us going here on our third episode of whatever this like new version of Saturday Morning Nostalgia is. As you can see here, the game has shifted into a kind of 2D Metroidvania-ish side-scrolling hack and slasher. I'll just say right now, like, this game doesn't play it doesn't play that great, but it doesn't really have to, because this game has novelty. This game does so many different, it attempts so many different things, and I've spoiled this for myself. Actually, a friend spoiled it for me, but I allowed him to. But there's like so many different like little gameplay iterations packed into this experience. Like, just look at this. It's very possible, 1,000 years into the future here, if we're still like going at the clip we're at, and who knows if these are all like AI here, or if this is like if Plank here is like an actual human being. But this geometry, this like these cities, there's something about it that's just like, it's unsettling to me, but it also kind of feels me like the nostalgia is here. There is something in this level design that's like, I don't know. And then you get like these this reminds me of Bloodborne here, where you get like you'll come up to like a house, like a little apartment, overlooking this massive chasm of like endless, just you could fall to your death and plummet down like you're Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back when he loses to Darth Vader. It reminds me of Bloodborne, when you just have like people who are barricading themselves inside their house because they are terrified to go outside, as this like man with a sword is trying to do something outside. So I get very lost here, because the game isn't always clear where to go, and the map in this game isn't the best. But again, like, this game isn't like, and this is why this game didn't sell well, because it tries so many ideas, and some of them are awkward, and like some of them are implemented awkwardly. It's like kind of doing Zelda-ish things with puzzle solving and hacking and slashing. And I think what really annoys me too about like monopoly capitalism in a collapsed society is that it's very frustrating when you see people performing the same rituals that keep them kind of insane. I mentioned in the Lost Odyssey episode the story of Zarathustra and how dealing with other people and their kind of like unconscious sickness, he has to take that on whether or not he chooses to. Sickness, I think this is mostly, I think a lot of sickness is steeped in secrets, in, having maybe a secret identity or being ashamed of who you are. I guess that's the same thing. Ultimately, like, I think a lot of sickness, a lot of like familial sickness, a lot of generational sickness. Yeah, it's all it's like learned behavior. It's unconscious learned behavior that is like reiterated throughout each generation. And a lot of it has to do with shame, even when it's a generation or a family that projects, pride. But there's certain things you can't talk about because there's secrets, and those secrets can harbor sickness. And that's where Zarathustra, the lesson of Zarathustra is he needs to know, or she needs to know, or they need to know, this is too much for me. I need to exit this fucking cave. I need to get away from these rituals that I intuitively know because my heart is telling me. The light inside me is telling me they are insane. And I'm not going to keep playing the game. So I have to go. It's nothing personal, but I have to go. It's this balancing act between, and it's knowing when to throw up your boundaries and when to kind of make yourself vulnerable. And it's very hard. It's very hard to make yourself vulnerable when you do have a processor that always feels like it's overstimulated and is, whether it wants to or not, will detect a threat if there is a threat there. It'll process that threat, whether it be a person, whether it be an action. Like somebody said something to you that rubbed you the wrong way. And maybe you were in the right, maybe that was a sign of disrespect. Maybe it wasn't. But then you have to process that, and you have to decide then, okay, do I let this go? Or do I have to confront this motherfucker about this? And that's the challenge with the lesson of Zarathustra is you can't always be in one state of mind. This is our moment right now. Millennials were told to go to college and you'll succeed. Well, we know how that turned out. We were told democracy was secure, especially, with Obama. That leads to what we have now, which is a person who has multiple personalities, implementing authoritarianism. And we were told that progress was inevitable, technology, all this shit, and yet all we see is regression. And Nier does a pretty good job showing that, like, the ruins of that trajectory, I would say. So, 2010. A lot happened to me in 2010. I
What's that?
tried and failed miserably to get back with the woman who broke my heart in 2007. I moved to a different... I transferred jobs. I went to a different location, which was in an area that was much more privileged than the area I was originally working in, which was my hometown. And I met my wife in 2010.
Quite the outfit.
I fear we have
So
issues to deal with.
I remember I became my brother's son's godfather in the summer of 2010. My nephew. I should have just said that. And I remember I had to go to a church and do a class with this priest, this minister, so I could officially become my nephew's godfather. And I remember, like, I had a busy schedule that day because after that, I was supposed to go on what I was hoping to be the first of many dates with my ex-girlfriend. It looked like we were getting back together. And we did not. She ghosted me on our date, and I didn't hear from her for like a couple weeks, and then we decided to go to the bar as kind of like it didn't seem like a date. It was just kind of like we're still in each other's lives for some reason, maybe because I haven't fully moved on. I'm not entirely sure why she did it, because she clearly seemed like she had moved on from me. Maybe she just wanted to be a friend with my friend. Nothing more, even though I'm not entirely sure why. But so something very, like, crazy happened to me. This feels like something that would only, like, happen in, like, a movie or a TV show, and it really, like, it made me very angry for, like, a week, and then I was completely over her after. So we're at the bar. It was this bar, this, like, sports bar that was right down the street from me. I always went there because I could just walk there. It was like a 10-minute walk. And like a minute drive, less than a minute drive. So we went to this bar, had a couple drinks. She excuses herself to go to the restroom. I'm sitting there by myself in a booth for like 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm thinking, this is really strange. So I like start scanning like the bar area of the bar. And it's pretty busy. There's a lot of people here. It's like a Friday night or a Thursday, and it's like half off specials or whatever. And I notice my ex-girlfriend is talking to a guy, and immediately I'm like, oh, whoa, like, what? Like, it immediately felt threatened and triggered. And I remember just like watching them, and then I think like after and like a couple minutes of like watching them, they started to kiss. They were making out. My ex-girlfriend was making out with some guy at the bar, and I saw it. I don't know if she like intentionally meant to do it in front of me, but she did. I held on to this. I moved on. I started dating somebody briefly for like 3-4 months at the tail end of 2010. And then I decided, me and a couple friends went up to her like alma mater. Wasn't for her. It was just like people we knew were there, and it was like a big tailgating weekend for football because you know how football is a big deal when you're like going through the college years of your life. And we like all got together, and the plan was to stay at her apartment overnight. And I got very drunk. And I guess I still wasn't over. Well, I said something very, very nasty to her that I will not repeat here because it's personal. All I'll say is I made a comment about. Well, I made two different comments about her physical appearance, and I regret ever doing it. I was not a good person in 2010, and that was the last time I ever saw her. The guy she was seeing at the time was really funny. I'll just shout him out here. My friend Ed, who I hope to have on the show, this podcast at some point, he was with me. Like, he just decided to stay at her place for the night and just like get drunk and pass out. So like my ex-girlfriend's boyfriend at the time found out what I said to her, and then was like he like went back to the house, but I wasn't there. I was off like drunk and getting lost with my doppelganger, which is a long story. I'm not going to get into it, but poor Ed got viciously woken up by this guy, and the man kept asking him,
"Are you Scoot? Are you Scoot?"
Another long story, but my name used to be Scoot. It kind of is still, but like I'm hoping people don't really call me that anymore because it's kind of like something I've grown out of. He thought poor Ed had to be me for a second. I'm glad Ed didn't get beat up because of some stupid ass drunk thing I said to my ex-girlfriend. Anyway, the point is I was not a good person in 2010. I moved on from that. The girlfriend I was dating at the time broke up with me too. I think it was like New Year's Eve of that year. And but I started working in a more privileged area in 2010, and that's where I met my wife. And my wife comes from a similar we have similar-ish experiences, but she grew up in a more privileged area than me. It wasn't love at first sight with me and my wife. We were friends. I remember we like did not get along at first because like she kind of started as my superior, and then we had the same job eventually, so we were kind of like each other's equals working together. But there was always like she would always throw these little jabs at me. Like I would go grab food for workers, and then I would bring it back, and like I would like sometimes I would take my sweet ass time being out of the store, so I would like pull up and grab food, and I would like, instead of like getting out of the car and just grabbing the food, I would like smoke a cigarette in the car, just kind of chill in there for like a couple minutes and listen to a song or something. And she would call me on the store phone being like, "Where are you? Ha ha ha." Like kind of like ribbing me or being like impatient, which is funny because like one of our like core arguments always seems to be like how I don't have enough patience. So yeah. And then we were both in long, troubling relationships. But like in like the early half of the 2010s, the first half, and then we officially started seeing each other at the very end of 2014. And then we got married in 2021. We both quit. We had both quit that job before we got married. And yeah, now here we are. It is like, it's almost like a switch flipped. You might be thinking, you bonded over being in, problematic relationships or whatever, and then you just like rushed into it. I don't believe that. I think it is usually very healthy to be friends with someone for a few years before getting married to them, because like you are going to fight as a unit, as a couple, as like you're just going to fight with your partners, even if you think you have the greatest relationship in the world and you think you're like a non-confrontational person or whatever. You are going to have fights with your spouse or spouses, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. If you have, this is another problem with me, and I feel like it's something I'm finally accepting and moving on from, is like, if we have a fight and it gets ugly or whatever, that doesn't mean the end of the world, doesn't mean divorce, doesn't mean I need to move out. None of that. It's okay. It's going to happen.
Wait.
The symbols are disappearing.
But I think like Nier,
Never seen the like.
at its core, it is a lot. It is about a lot.
She exists as neither fully human nor other.
But I think what it's I love that line by Grimoire here. He gets very offended
If that part goes, I'll cut her.
by Kaime, who I have no idea who this woman is. If you want like Nier analysis on this video, like you're probably not going to get that, because I really don't know fully what's going on here. But at the core of this is like a very simple story about a man that's, or maybe he's not a man, but masculine adjacent person father who is trying to do whatever it takes to save his daughter in a like an impossible situation, in a reality that's just like collapsed. And I've made the point where it's like my society could collapse, all my friends and family could die, but I would still be determined to do everything I could for my child. And I think that's like at the core of what Nier is. Even though this guy is like, he doesn't really know what he's doing and he makes mistakes. But here's the thing, like with evil comes before good. Like the only way to create or manifest good is to like get it like retroactively out of encountering like evil. And like evil isn't always malicious. Evil can be like you maybe you're not even aware that something you're doing could be perceived as evil or problematic or whatever. And I mean, this is a very obvious point, but I mean, this is where you have to make mistakes. You have to fail. And you kind of just have to like let that shit go. Let go of being humiliated. And the more you like become yourself, and just like you feel like you just have a pretty good intuition about you, and you trust yourself to know that you're not always going to be right. You're not always going to have it right. But the experience, you are going to learn something from it, even if you do feel embarrassed. My wife always used to tell me when I was struggling, like, and I was in a different place, like the world is here to teach us lessons all the time. And I used to think that was like lame, like authoritarian, just like, oh, you're talking to me like you're the teacher and I'm the student. But I'm pretty sure that's like that has at least some validity, I would say. This game also has a lot of side quests. Oh, here's so we're checking up on Yona here, who's not doing great. She's still like in bed, can't really move. Plank is reassuring her he's gonna get the medicine, all that. And then she reassures Dad not to do anything dangerous. And I repeat it here because the first time I did this, I was like, whoa, is that actually, like, that's something I constantly have to think about now is, should I act? Is every action I'm doing, is it for the betterment of my daughter or for the, like, or could it put her in danger? You know, that sounds very kind of dramatic, but it's like when you have responsibility, you really got to choose your battles. And even sometimes if you do feel like you've been disrespected, you really got to think about it and be like, should I let this shit go, or do I need to say something? Do I have to stick up for myself or stick up for someone else? And every decision I make now, it does become easier because it's very simple for me. Am I acting now in a way, or my daughter's interests are the number one priority for me? And if they're not, then I'm not going to do it. That doesn't mean I'm always going to act that way, but I at least ask myself the question, because emotion can take over. Chaos can take over. Other people's sickness will activate your own, because we all have it. It's funny to me that this game has a jump button. Like this, it's impressive. Like this game is rough in a lot of ways, but it's impressive how much is in this game. How much level design, how much like you can do, how much you can interact with. And the side quests are like pretty basic. Like they're just fetch quests, and it's your main way of earning gold in this game. And you need gold for like to buy items, medicinal herbs, which is like your potions or whatever. And then you can like buy armor and different swords. And then there's like some weird word system with the grimoire where if you like go into the menus, I think it's just like the game's way of like saying you can upgrade stuff or whatever. But they do it in a very like peculiar way I've never seen another RPG do. It's like a weirdly Cavia adjacent thing. We're gonna stop here at this this vendor because I'm out of stuff to talk about. So 49-minute mark. You know what? It's been such a long week. I don't even know what day it is. I'm cracking open a sugar-free Red Bull. I don't know if I've earned this one, but I definitely deserve it. So, as of, you might be wondering, oh, maybe I was going to release another episode because I was able to release the Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon episodes back-to-back Saturdays, which pretty kind of crazy that I was able to. But I thought, oh, let's see if I can conclude the trilogy by putting Nier out. And obviously, let's not bullshit here about anything. I failed in that regard. I'm not going to blame anyone. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to point fingers.
Yeah.
It was my birthday
Crazy town. You know how hard that's gonna be?
this past
Watching Yona die.
weekend, and me and my wife decided we were going to, this was my idea. I think it's, I mean, you can let me know if it's a stupid idea. I thought this was a pretty decent idea. I thought, well, since we were talking the other day about 2008 and how we both chose those years as like our agreed upon years we would do over, why don't we go on a date in a dead mall and pretend like it's 2008 and we knew each other in 2008? And she was very hesitant at this idea first. She almost looked at me like I wasn't like maybe I wasn't serious or something, but I was dead serious. I thought this would be fun. And the reason I thought it was going to be fun was because my goal was to not buy anything. My goal was to just like window shop and be like kind of like this challenge where we simply decide to go to the mall, check out all the stores, and see if we can just derive enjoyment out of like our conversation and just kind of like window shopping. And it was a really good time. I enjoyed myself. It was funny. We pulled into the parking lot and I'm following my wife sometimes, like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm in passenger mode. Like, she drove there. She doesn't always drive, but I will admit she does drive more often. And I'm wondering now, my intuition is telling me maybe I should drive more. But anyway, we were parked and we got out and I just like, my brain was still kind of like in passive mode. So I'm following her into the mall, assuming this is both a mall we've been to, by the way, and together. But I decided to follow her. She did not go into the main entrance. She drifted off like to a building to the right, which didn't lead directly into the mall. I quickly discovered there was no exit. And even more embarrassingly, a man came up to us who worked there. I remember he was dressed in sweatpants and I think he had like some kind of bowling shirt on. And this poor man, he's like, welcome to the store. And he's saying it was a big and tall store. And we have a variety of big and tall products. And I'm just kind of standing there like, if you've seen my frame, you know right away that I should be shot dead in a big and tall. Like maybe that's a bit harsh. I would look like if you saw me in a big and tall store, you would be like, is that motherfucker lost? Why did this man who still tries to wear men's smalls, sometimes children's mediums or large, why is he in this store? What is he doing? What is he seeking here? What is this? I politely tell the guy, and I'm very embarrassed here. I kind of just like, I don't remember if my wife was just like, okay, thank you, awkwardly, and I was just like, I appreciate it, thank you, we're just browsing right now. I'm just trying to figure out how to get the fuck out of this store because there's no exit into the mall. I realize like this man must have thought we made a conscious decision to walk into the store and not the mall. Unless he gets this he gets this all the time. He said this like he had said it maybe 500,000 times in his life. I don't know. So then I finally decide to just like, I politely turn around as like gravity it's not my mind thinking anymore because I am terrified and I feel very like awkward and seen. Gravity is just pulling me back to the entrance and my will kind of takes over. And I'm just trusting my body to get me out of the store. So I go back to the entrance. My wife follows me. He says, thank you for coming in or having a good day. I felt so like uncomfortable and like almost bad. Like I did something wrong. And I just like, but I was calm. I think I maybe weighed back or just gave like a nice nod of appreciation. And I got out of the store. But other than that, really appreciate the time I got to spend with my wife in a dead mall. We got some ideas for Christmas gifts because Christmas is right around the corner. Happy holidays, everyone. Me and my wife actually went to that mall like 10 years ago. And it was like the first year we were dating. And that was when I was still taking pain medication like 4 to 5 days a week every month. 5 on, 25 off, we'll call it. And I remember I was playing Undertale at the time. It was a hell of an October because like 2015 was an incredible year. So yeah, anyway, I don't know if my wife like remembers this, that we went there. It's weird to me though that I remember it, and I was also like taking like narcotics at the time, and I still have the memory of it. But yeah. So this concludes the we're gonna wrap up this this little thing I've been doing here over the past few weeks, and I'm gonna be moving on to other things. I've been thinking a lot lately about, like, I guess you could call it emotional dumping, because even though I am trying to make a bigger point about nostalgia and trying to like investigate like what the hell is going on right now and why nostalgia is such a cope for millennials especially, but really everyone, I would say. I lost my train of thought. This is about YouTube. And kind of like this, Catherine Liu talks about this. I think she's writing a book about it called, I don't remember what the title is called, but it has to do with like, I think it has to do with like how trauma has been commodified and how like the new type of influencer now has to like overshare online. And that got me thinking about, like, I apologize if you don't know who these content creators are, but it's like part of my lane of like content creators I watch. The three in particular I'm thinking of are JRAG or Drag, FD Signifier, and ContraPoints. Now all three of them fill like a different kind of market within YouTube. I would say all three of them overshare in different and interesting ways, and I do plan on making a video about it. But I think, like, my point here is, like, I don't expect me to be this, like, I don't know, open, or like, maybe it seems like I'm emotional dumping. Maybe this is a cry for help. You're out there and you think I'm insane or I'm like oversharing. Maybe this is too vulnerable, but this is like the end of it, I would say. I'm not going to be as vulnerable, I believe, moving forward. But I don't know, maybe I can't help it. Maybe I just can't help myself, and I'm like every other content creator where I just have to commodify my trauma. Oh, the fishing minigame. This is the 2017 memory, I believe, because it was, speaking of 2015, when I say 2015 was an amazing year, like, it was not an amazing year in the grand scheme of things, but a lot of video games came out that year. I played a lot of video games that year. 2017, I also played a lot of video games. Well, time will see. Time will tell if those years will stand up. I think 2017, like, I don't know, 2017 was like the year a lot of like really acclaimed walking simulators came out. But there was a lot of shit in 2017. Like, there was Resident Evil 7, there was Nier Automata, there was Persona 5, there was A Night in the Woods, there was like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. Like, just I mean, say what you will about some of those games. I don't know. Maybe they don't hold up as much as people claim they do. But, you know, that's for another day. 2017, I was still... I just remember, like, I used to listen to the Giant Bombcasts. And I was listening to... It might have been the Giant Beastcast when Giant Bomb kind of split up. They had their little schism. because they had like people that were on the West Coast in San Francisco, and then they had people who were in New York or like New York adjacent, lived in like Long Island or whatever. So they like decided to kind of split the brand between different coasts. There was the New York brand, which was called like Giant, or they named their podcast Giant Beastcast instead of Giant Bombcast. Anyway, I stopped listening to the San Francisco one when the New York guys started doing a podcast, because I just preferred their kind of like perspective or whatever. So I think they were talking about like how many fishing mini games there are in video games out, and I remember specifically this memory. This is just a memory. Like, this has no deeper meaning. I remember I was on the way to pick up drugs from my dealer, and that was the podcast they were talking about, because it was like, I remember it was in December, it was cold out. So I've always associated Nier. They mentioned Nier's fishing minigame specifically, or actually Nier Automata's, I think, because I don't think anybody in Giant Bomb East played Nier. I'd be surprised. Actually, I remember I watched a quick look of Ryan Davis. If you remember who Ryan Davis is, he was an associate editor, or like, what did they used to call the writers of... And Ryan Davis was a content creator with Giant Bomb. He and Jeff Gerstmann basically like created Giant Bomb together. And then Ryan Davis passed away, I believe, in 2013. Anyway, I think it was him and Brad, who's one of the San Francisco boys, even though he was born in like, I think, the Carolinas. So he has like a southern drawl, but he lives in San Francisco. I don't know. Maybe this is all... Anyway, yeah, I think it was him and Ryan Davis were doing the quick look on Nier, and they were... I just remember Ryan Davis specifically like was very bored by what was going on. And I remember I watched this quick look like after watching Tim Rogers' video where he said this was the third best Xbox 360 game of all time. Whether or not you think definitive lists like that matter, honestly, I think it's silly. He knows it's silly. Whenever you make a list, like, yeah, obviously it's like nothing definitive. It is an opinion. It is one person's opinion. And if like getting angry, getting annoyed, getting triggered at like a game not placing as high as it may have should have in your mind, like on a list, if that like annoys you, that is very like I'm embarrassed for you if a game, like, either if a game scores poorly too, like on a website, I feel like that's also very cringe behavior. But you already know that. It's very try hard. So here's the lighthouse. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't even think I have to like go up here, but I just thought it would be cool to explore. I thought I would be more like amped to play Nier after I played it for this, like when I was capturing this footage. But I'll be honest, like I was thinking of playing Nier in January because it just feels like a game. As I played Nier Automata in January, and then I have like this weird memory of like of hearing about like the fishing mini game while picking up Vicodin in 2017, like while listening to a podcast that reference the sequel to this game, which is like a very like, that's reaching for like any kind of like meaningful connection. So I'll just say now, if you made it this far and you've watched all three, I will be posting a hopefully 25 to 30 minute ish, I guess you could call it, video essay. I hate that word, but it's the one that sticks the most. I mean, I did go to school for English, so it is what it is. Yeah, like expect that. It's going to be called the Xbox 360 and the End of the Future. Maybe there'll be some stuff in there that wasn't in these episodes, because it's like these episodes were very like RPG heavy, but there's obviously other games on the Xbox 360 that were overlooked, and some that weren't, and were kind of like rated properly. Like, I'm not one of those assholes who's going to sit here and tell you Gears of War was overrated or Halo was overrated. Even though I prefer Gears of War to Halo. I think Gears of War has been like a consistently pretty solid franchise. It's one of my favorite franchises. Like I probably put it in top 5. Like top 5 franchises for me. Here we go. Like you might, if you get annoyed by this, I'm sorry, but for me, like off the top of my head, it'd be like Resident Evil, Gears of War, Metal Gear Solid. And then I have to think, because like it used to be Final Fantasy, but now I feel like there hasn't been a classic Final Fantasy, in my opinion, since 10. Like I wouldn't call 16 a classic. I wouldn't call 15 a classic. I need to replay 16. I do. Like I still feel like kind of undecided about that game. I definitely wouldn't call 13 a classic. And I've never played 12 to completion. I've tried. And that game just never jived with me. If you think it's a great game, that's cool. I'm not gonna say I'm happy for you, but yeah. If you want, like, if any of this content was interesting you, I would recommend like watching Tim Rogers' top 36 Xbox 360 video games video. You could just like YouTube it. Just put in like Tim Rogers Xbox 360. But it's not like it's not on his channel. It's on his I guess like friends or former friends. They had some drama in their, apparently well, right now, as of now, they're like, I think they're beefing and they're not like doing podcasts together, which there was a whole like really funny thing. There's a whole thing about that. And it was kind of like small internet drama for a while. But yeah, the point is like, Tim Rogers agreed to do one podcast. He got back together with the boys, but the episode was just him talking about the Xbox 360 with a script he had been working on for like 3 years on and off. And then he just like reads off the script without making any edits or cuts for like the next 2 hours. So you hear him like keep in like swallowing and just like stuttering over words, which like, if you know Tim Rogers, he's like the archetype of like the like millennial perfectionist. I say all of that with love. I think Tim Rogers is a wonderful human being who has brought legitimate like joy and inspiration into the world. He is very off-putting at first, I will say. Like the first time I ever watched a Tim Rogers video, I believe that's something I will never forget. It was at the tail end of 2018, I believe, and he was doing his Red Dead Redemption 2 haters review. And I remember just thinking he was so pretentious and full of shit. And but I couldn't stop watching. I've never seen anybody talk about like not just video games, the way he like, I can't explain it. It's very like he's both a very articulate writer and a like masterful video editor. And like if you watch any of his like stuff on his main channel, which is Action Button, like you'll notice like right away how much care and attention he puts into his videos. And he's a workaholic who is like, I mentioned like how, you know, Zarathustra, Nietzsche, Deleuze, like all these like great thinkers are always sickly. Tim Rogers is always talking on his Twitch channel about like all the health issues he's experiencing. And I think it's because he's worked himself into an early grave, because he like made the switch, because he used to work for Kotaku. And yeah, like you could have your issues with Kotaku. I get it. Like they are kind of woke in an annoying sense. But like I remember like traffic for Kotaku really picked up with Tim Rogers. And that's when I started like, I wasn't following Kotaku because I was like still like Giant Bomb pilled. And then like I started noticing Tim Rogers was like part of Kotaku. And then I just like, I'll just listen to Tim Rogers. And that's what I ended up doing. And then I kind of just like, I wouldn't say I abandoned Giant Bomb, but like, if there's one person I take seriously in that industry more than anyone, it is definitely Tim Rogers. But just be aware, there won't always be video game content on this channel. I'm sorry if that offends you, if I talk like about politics or like about theory. This channel, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing as I'm like creating this. I don't know. I'm not trying to create a persona, but I know like it's so cringe. You have to like brand yourself and shit and all this. Oh my god, it's so cringe. It's so cringe. I don't know. I'm just kind of wandering around lost here. This game, I do not like this game's mini map. I feel like it's very like purposely. I think it's like mostly intentionally like designed very poorly, but it is designed very poorly. Which is why like when Jeff Gerstmann makes the point about survival horror games like putting in like fucking you in a way that's like intentionally malicious. I feel like Nier might be doing that sometimes, and it's like a little off-putting, but I also feel like it's one of those things that, yeah, you kind of just have to be... Maybe you have to be in the mood for a game like Nier. You have to be in a mood for all three of these games, honestly, but I do like recommend all three of them. I like based on what I've played. But yeah, I don't feel like oh, I'm not looking forward to like playing Nier in January as much as I thought I would. I will say I am. I might do a video on Claire Obscure at the end of the year. We'll see if I get that out. I am like, I have never been more busy and stressed out in my life. I'll just say that. But I wouldn't be shocked if Claire Obscure wins all the Game Awards. And I haven't really played that many games this year, but I like that game to me, like gameplay wise, it's a 10. It's so addicting. It's so like I never try to dodge. I always try to parry. I love like the risk reward of it. It feels kind of like baby Sekiro in that sense, kind of. Maybe that's a weird comparison. I don't know. If it is, I apologize. But yeah, I'm doing a video on that, but it's not going to be glazing the game. It's not going to be that. And yeah, so I have these. I know I always say like, oh, these videos are coming out like, but I do like the next 3 videos will be shorter. I'm taking a break from the nostalgia thing. I'm hoping to return to horror one of these days, but for now, expect what I've told you. Take care of yourselves. Merry Christmas. If you're out there watching, whether I know you or I don't know you, I love you. I wish the best for you. Unless you're an asshole. But even then, like, I still, like, I feel for you, and I hope you figure your shit out, but, like, I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy to figure your shit out, and you need help. You definitely need help. Every day is a new day to redeem yourself. As I'm lost here.